Well, one, we should definitely open up the schools, and we need to stop listening to Dr. Fauci, who is funded by Bill and Melinda Gates. And all of your listeners know this. I know this. You know this. We all know this. But Jeffrey Epstein's not a good man, and Bill Gates spent a lot of time with Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. So I don't think we should be listening to a pedophile for how to treat our kids, period. And we shouldn't be listening to people who spend time with pedophiles as it relates to our kids. So if Bill Gates wanted to watch my kids as a babysitter, I wouldn't let him do it. I'm certainly not going to use a vaccine he recommends. And Bill Gates has asked Dr. Fauci to serve on his board for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So stop listening to Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci. They are corrupt individuals, and Bill Gates hangs out with pedophiles consistently. Why would he hang out with Epstein? Why would he do that? It's sick.
Okay. All right. Clay Clark, thank you for coming on today's program. We appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your thoughts.
State. And tonight he's charged with having and trading a massive amount of child pornography. KIRO 7's Gary Horker is live near the Gates compound in Medina. And Gary, this man worked as an engineer for the family.
That's what SPD intelligence found out, Steve. They found out that the man actually worked for the Bill and Melinda Gates mansion on the grounds of their sprawling 66,000 square foot estate, and that's where they found him and questioned him last March. The estate is behind us right on the lakefront here, but this is a few blocks away and it's as close as their security will allow us to get. But according to King County prosecutors, 51-year-old Rick Allen Jones was questioned by detectives about images of child porn and even child rape that were sent from Jones's home computer. Now, none of this alleged crime actually happened at the Gates mansion, but it was here that Rick Allen Jones admitted to detectives he collected child porn for about 10 years, sending images through his Gmail account. Now, while Jones was talking to detectives at the Gates estate, 3 more SPD detectives had a search warrant to search Jones's Ballard apartment. There, they say they found more than 6,000 images of graphic child porn and rape, 133 of which were children identified by police. We tried Jones's apartment for comment. We got no response. We also reached out to Bill and Melinda Gates' foundation, and we did not hear back. So, in fact, we do not know if he's been fired by the Gates' family. Another mystery into this is why Jones was never jailed or charged by these allegations up until now. The investigation started here at the Gates Foundation, the Gates Mansion, in March, and the criminal complaint, which I have right here, says he has to show up in court and face a judge in the coming days. So we're going to keep track of this. We're digging into the charges. We'll keep you posted on the latest. Live from the lakefront in Medina tonight, I'm Gary Horker, KIRO 7 Eyewitness News.
Jeffrey Epstein may be dead, but this story isn't. A shocking new report from the New York Times sheds light on the connection between Microsoft founder Bill Gates and the late Jeffrey Epstein. After Gates' name came up in connection with Epstein and MIT Media Lab, Gates gave a statement to the Wall Street Journal where he insisted he did not have any business relationship or friendship with Epstein. But new reporting from the New York Times outlines numerous meetings between Gates and Epstein and a conversation with Bill and Melinda Gates' foundation, a connection between their foundation and J.P. Morgan to set up a charitable fund that would financially benefit Epstein. You know what I want to know? Why? Joining me now, one of the New York Times reporters from this story, James B. Stewart, who is also the author of a new book I highly recommend, Deep State: Trump, the FBI, and the Rule of Law. Let's start with this. Gates says, no relationship, nada, nothing. You report these two men met at least 6 times. What does Gates say about that?
Well, I believe there were more, and he and his spokespeople would not say how many in total they actually met. But this included visits to the mansion, seeing each other in Seattle, flying on Epstein's plane, when we all know Bill Gates has his own $40 million plane. And then, as an investigative reporter, why would Gates say, oh, I had no relationship with him, when, of course, he knows what the facts are? So that always sets off red flags for me.
He also has one of the largest, most established foundations on his own.
Yes.
Why would they ever set up a charitable trust benefiting Jeffrey Epstein?
Well,
What's the explanation?
not only does he have the world's largest charitable foundation, but one of their primary missions is to help young women in underprivileged countries. Jeffrey Epstein was preying on young women from Eastern Europe, from South Africa, luring them into his web. And it's the antithesis of what the Gates Foundation stands for. And by the way, there were Gates Foundation employees who were horrified when they realized what Jeffrey Epstein had done and was saying, we don't want to have anything to do with this, and yet the project went on.
And what is the Gates explanation for this?
That it was all about philanthropy, that Bill Gates just wanted to find new sources of money.
But when you went and met with Jeffrey Epstein a year and a half ago, I read your piece, you knew straight out of the gate something didn't add up. It smelled foul. Bill Gates didn't notice that? One of the smartest guys in the world.
I mean, he's a registered sex offender, and after I rang the doorbell, it opens, and there is a beautiful young woman standing there who I didn't think was 16, but she could have been, 19 or something, and I thought, whoa, a sex offender has a beautiful young woman opening the door. So I didn't even have to go through the door before I realized there's something really weird going on here.
And recent reports have noted that one of the influential people in Epstein's inner circle was none other than Microsoft founder Bill Gates, the same man who is now making headlines for wanting to pour billions of dollars into finding a vaccine to combat the coronavirus. Now, these meetings that happened between the two of them occurred at Epstein's private residence, and Bill Gates also had his name listed on Epstein's infamous private jet, the Lolita Express. And since then, Gates has come out and said that he denies any ties to Epstein whatsoever. But we also have to remember that those one-on-one meetings happened after Epstein was forced to register as a sex offender and after it was made public that dozens of underage girls had accused him of forcing them to take part in a worldwide sex trafficking ring. Yet, even with all of that information made public, Bill Gates still chose to take place in one-on-one meetings with Epstein. And he likely saw Epstein as a man who had managed to get his way out of spending the rest of his life in prison because of his powerful connections that Bill Gates wanted to get his hands on. And now as Gates, one of the richest men in the world, pours billions of dollars into finding a vaccine to combat the coronavirus, he's likely doing this knowing that he is going to get billions and billions of dollars in returns. And he's pushing for a vaccine that is sort of a one-size-fits-all, that could be mandated for all of us in order to travel again or even get back to our daily life. And that's why when you look at the connections between people like Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Gates, it is so important to remember to hold the powerful people in our world accountable for everything they do. Because if there is anything history has taught us, it is that powerful people tend to protect powerful people. And that is something everyone should be talking about.
If you study Aleister Crowley was the most influential person of the 20th century, and Aleister Crowley's influence can be felt in everything. And his magic rituals, which now form, so much of our government policy and our media and our institutions, because these people infiltrated and subverted everything, it all has to do with children. And that's what we're seeing with Child Protective Services. They want to use coronavirus as a pretext to take people's kids away and then do God knows what with them. And we know what they do with these children, with the ceremony. And we know what was going on down at Epstein Island.
Why do you think Gates looks more happy than he's ever looked? When he talks about the economy never starting back, he begins giggling and looking like he's having an orgasm. When he talks about 700,000 are going to get hurt by the vaccine, he gets visibly excited. As you said, he calls it a final solution, which is the Nazi term for exterminating groups. And then meanwhile, he has the whole pedigree of that. What the hell's going on here?
It's demonic energy, Alex. These people genuinely derive power and satisfaction and energy off of the suffering of others. Now, we know that this entire thing was a scam. You know why we know that? Because Fauci actually funded the coronavirus bet project with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Trump and Pompeo have both said that was the outbreak. So let me get this straight. So Fauci is the guy who actually funded the thing that unleashed the outbreak onto the world. And he's partnered with Bill Gates on the vaccine, and he spent all this time trying to shut down inexpensive treatment like hydroxychloroquine. Meanwhile, they try to make money on the side. 8 members of the NIH treatment panel disclosed financial transactions with Gilead, which makes this super expensive drug. That's why they didn't like hydroxychloroquine. So it's all been about the vaccine. They want the mass vaccinations. And you know what else Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was funding? A project at MIT. And we know Gates and Epstein, good friends through their work at MIT. Epstein funneled money to MIT through Gates, okay? You know what the project was? How to use a vaccine to implant people's medical history under their skin. So you can look at somebody's skin and figure out whether or not they've been vaccinated or not, like a marker. This
and
is
let me
what
stop
Bill
you.
Gates
They
has
then
been
came
working
out
on.
and said that I made that up, and that they listed you in articles that you made it up, even though the head of Rice University Science and the head of MIT Science said Gates asked for this and showed the documents bragging. And then here's Google today. They're racing to come out with their own digital tattoos under the skin to prove you've had vaccines. That's Business Insider right there. Google working on smart tattoos that turn skin into living touchpad. So what is this tactic where they say they're doing it, we say we don't want it, and they say we're liars?
Well, you know what, Alex, in your great state of Texas, a Google partner is doing the contact tracing, where they send the contact tracers around to everybody. In Massachusetts, you got a George Soros and Bill Gates funded organization that Chelsea Clinton is on the board of trustees on, that are doing the contact
And everybody
tracing.
keeps asking what happened to Governor Abbott. I'll tell you what happened. Google and Apple moved to town, and he took money from them, and he gave them then the money back for contact tracers, and he's now merging with Sauron.
Yep. And de Blasio says, oh, the contact tracers can't ask if you've been to a George Floyd protest. They know the thing's a scam. Fauci's at the baseball game, not even wearing his mask. After his testimony, he's on video not wearing a mask, sending a message to the fake news reporters that you don't have to wear a mask. Only the commoners, only the cattle, only the animals in our slave class have to wear masks.
You're absolutely right. And it's an occult ritual. Well, and let's admit it, the military is and things for reasons. But that's, you go and you sign up for that to be put into a cult. And it's a cult, you know, that supposedly empowers the human, but gets you used to acting as one cohesive group, but it's still a cult. This is classic Chinese communist cult programming. They admit with the mask ahead of take the inoculation, take the contact tracing, take the app on your phone that tracks you. They are getting us ready for total submission.